Welcome to your mat. My name is Laura with TC Fit. I'm very happy that you're able to join me today for a few minutes in a quiet, calm space. For today's yoga session, all you'll need is a mat and a quiet space. If you don't have a yoga mat at home, a bath towel will work just fine. A couple housekeeping items before we begin today. As you're practicing, if anything that we're doing just doesn't feel right physically, try something different. Do a modification. Make it work for you and your body today. Also, I'm expecting, so some of the poses that I'll be practicing today might look a little bit different than what I'm describing for you to do at home. So, work with the space that you have and be grateful that you were able to carve out the time to practice yoga today. Let's begin. Our first few moments on the mat, we're going to spend lying flat on our backs. You can have the knees bent or legs straight. If you'd rather be side lying, that's also an option. We begin our class by spending a few moments settling into our breath. In yoga, we blend our movement and our breath together. That's what creates our yoga practice. And our aim with this connection between our breath and our body is to keep our mind present in the moment that we're living in while we're living in it. Notice your inhale. Bring your breath in through your nostrils. Feel your inhale flow down the back of your windpipe and allow your breath to fill every corner of your lungs. As you exhale, notice your body melting into your mat. Give yourself the permission that you need to let your body relax. Inhale, expanding, bringing our breath very deep and wide into the full depth of our abdomen. In yoga, we use an inhale and exhale through the nostrils. If that's not allowable because of allergies or a cold or whatever, just do your best. As we bring our focus to our breath, use this active breath pattern to keep your mind right here, in the moment that you're living in. You'll find that at some point during your yoga practice, your mind will probably wander away. There's lots of things to think about, but give yourself the permission to set aside those things, whatever they are. You've carved out the time to be on your mat, and I challenge you to stay present. Feel your inhale as it goes in through your nostrils, down the back of your windpipe, reaching the full depth of your torso, all the way down by your hip bones, and let your breath rise past your belly button, filling the bottom of your lungs, the middle of your lungs, and then finally reaching up to your collarbones. And as you exhale, we bring our breath out in the reverse pattern, following our breath down through our lungs, letting our abdomen deflate as our breath comes back up and out through our nose. This connection between our mind and our breath and our body is part of what helps us walk away from our yoga practice feeling mentally refreshed. So, when you do notice that your mind has wandered away during class, I challenge you to bring your focus back to your breath. Notice how your inhale, your exhale feels in whatever pose or shape that we're completing. Let's begin to move the body, finding small ways to create movement, maybe wiggling our fingers, wiggling our toes, and then create little fists with your hands, squeezing your palms and clenching your toes like a bird on a wire. And then spread your fingers wide, stretching the webbing between our fingers, between our toes, And again, creating little fists with our hands. Stretching our fingers wide. And in whatever position you're in, roll your palms inward and outward. And create the same movement with your lower body. Rolling your legs inward and outward. Rotating at our shoulders and at our hips. And from here, if your legs are long and you're lying on your back, I invite you to add a bend to your knees and roll onto your right side. We're going to begin with some sideline rotation. Using our bottom arm as a pillow for our head. If you've got a little towel or small pillow nearby, that would work as well. And our top arm will start out in front of us, keeping our hips, knees, and ankles very steady and still. Let's bring our top arm up and then rotate. Even if your eyes are still closed, take your vision towards your fingers of your top hand. Stay for a few breaths. Notice how your inhale and exhale moves your body. On your next breath out, bring your fingertips back up towards the sky and return your hand out and in front of you. Let's do this one more time on this side. Bring a breath in to reach our fingers tall and exhale to rotate. Take another full breath in. Big exhale. Twist just a touch further. And on your next breath out, bring your fingertips back up. Coming all the way back to center and unwinding our spine. From here, you're welcome to roll over or spin and find the other side. Same setup, knees bent, hips stacked, ankles stacked, bottom arm underneath our head, top arm stretched out and in front of us. And on your inhale, let's reach our fingertips up and open. Feel your breath. Notice as you inhale, your twist sort of lessens, and as you exhale, you're able to create just a touch more rotation. Part of the beauty of yoga is we move the body in ways that might be unique compared to other parts of the day. On your next breath out, bring your fingertips back up and top arm back to the floor in front of us. One more time, inhaling, stretching our top arm up, and exhale, rotate. On your next breath out, bring your fingertips back up and return your palm to the ground in front of you. From here, we'll use that top arm, lengthen our top leg, press ourselves up and into a seated shape. You can sit with legs crossed. If this is a position that's kind of tough for your hips to manage, you're welcome to roll up the back end of your yoga mat and then prop yourself up on it. Giving yourselves a little bit more height can allow our hips to move a little bit better. Sitting with whichever leg is more comfortable for you on top. We bring our hands up and together at heart center. In this position, I have my fingertips spread nice and wide, palms, fingers pressing against one another. And in this shape, we aim to situate the spine as tall and as proud as possible. Take 3 big inhales and exhales. You're welcome to close your eyes at any point and just listen. Feel what your breath does to the inside of your body while it's happening. Allow your shoulders to settle away from your ears, but yet keep the tall, proud posture that we've created. From our hands at heart center, let's let our hands peel apart and rest on our mat or the ground next to us. Keeping one hand flat on the floor, we'll reach the opposite arm up and over. Seated side bend. Reaching our arm back up and recreate with the other side. Up and over. Imagine a little line from your tip of your pinky finger down the outside of your arm, sort of through the side seam of your shirt, trying to lengthen and create a little arc to that line. Reach up and over, anchoring that palm flat against the ground. Reach. Try to make each one just a tiny bit bigger than the one before. Grow tall and reach up and over. Moving our spine into side flexion, side bend. Let's take one more time to each side, reaching up and over. And last one, reaching tall and coming back to center. From our seated position, let's reconvene on all fours. So hands underneath our shoulders, knees underneath our hips. You have two options with your hands here. You're welcome to have hands flat, or you can create a fist with your wrists. Fist with your hands to keep your wrists more neutral. You're welcome to take whichever shape feels better for you and your body. From our all fours position, we'll move into cat and cow. This is a sequence of movement that is built to bring spine flexion and extension. So into cow, we take a big breath in. And as we exhale, we move into cat. Kind of like a scared cat, rounded spine. Lay your head and your tail, try and point towards the mat. Inhaling into cow. Exhaling into cat. So my hope is that you are able to bring out a little bit more movement to your spine. I've got a baby in the way, so normally I'd be able to create a little bit more range of motion, but you have the A-OK to make this movement pattern as big and as broad as you are able. We're moving every vertebrae along the entire length of your spine. From where your head meets your spine, at the very top, to where our spine comes down and lands on our pelvis at our low back. Exhaling into cat, inhaling into cow. We use this pattern of breath in cat-cow because of space. There's more space inside our lungs as we find cow, sort of that sway back, arched position, compared to our cat shape. A lot less space inside our lungs. Take 5 more passes between both cat and cow. Make your movement smooth, slow, steady, and in control. As you finish your final pass between cat and cow, we'll move into child's pose. In child's pose, we bring the knees wide, about the width of the mat, maybe even a little bit wider, and we settle our hips back towards our heels and stretch our arms out and in front of us. Normally, I would rest my forehead on the mat, but that is not going to be the case. So I'm going to take the option of putting my elbows underneath my shoulders and just letting my head kind of hover. You are welcome to stretch your arms out as long as you can and allow your forehead to find the mat. This is a great pose to check in on our breath. Use this moment of still, quiet time to really feel how your breath moves inside your lungs, inside your ribs, inside your torso. Because we're not lying on the mat, our rib cage is floating in free space, I challenge you to bring your present thought to this space right across the middle of your abdomen, the bottom of your rib cage, especially to the back side of the body. Imagine someone's hands resting on the very base of your rib cage. And as you inhale, try to make those hands rise and grow, bringing our breath into corners of our lungs that we really haven't thought much about yet today. And as we exhale, those imaginary hands settle closer to one another. Let's stay in our child's pose for 3 more big, deep breaths. If at any point during our practice you'd like to revisit child's pose and just hang out for a few moments, you are more than welcome to do so. From our child's pose, we'll step our hands forward. You can leave your knees on the mat or come up to high plank, extending the legs. I'll show you the high plank position just momentarily, but you'll see me use the knee plank version for the remainder of class. So finding this nice long position, either knees settled on the mat or extended long. In this pose, we want to feel our abdomen. All the musculature across the front of our abdomen is engaged, keeping our spine nice and long. Slow, in control, we'll lower down towards our mat, adding a bend to the elbows, fighting gravity as we go. I'd like you to come all the way down and land on your belly. And as you land, lift your shoulders just slightly, creating a little cobra shape. And then press back and send your hips up high and into downward facing dog. And the quintessential yoga pose. This first visit to down dog always feels a little stiff, a little sticky. Give yourself some grace and pedal out your feet. And kind of swing your knees, swing your hips right and left. Just sort of waggle your way. Get it? Down dog. Waggle your way into this shape. In our down dog, we want to make sure we have our fingers spread wide. We got that nice open line from the heels of our hands through our shoulders up towards our hips. The distance between our earlobes and our shoulders is as long as possible, making sure we're keeping our shoulders settled down. Our aim is to try and get our heels as close to the mat as we are able. That may or may not ever happen, and that's okay. From our downward facing dog, we're going to do continue our spine movement, but also kind of create some openness through our hips. So for this pose, we're going to bring our right foot forward, outside to the outside edge of our right hand. So we'll step our foot up and then allow our knee to find the mat. From this shape, I'm going to leave my left hand on the mat and rotate my right arm up. If your back kneecap is like, hey, I don't like this so much, I encourage you to add a fold to your mat so you get a little extra cushion. out and take a few big breaths. I'm trying to sink my hips closer towards the mat, but yet reach my top arm up. Sort of counteractive forces here. Taking one more big breath, modified lunge, and allow your right hand to come back to the inside edge of your right foot. And we'll step our foot back and go back up and into our downward facing dog. Let's visit the left side. So from here, we'll step our left foot forward towards the outside edge of our left hand, back knee finding the mat, and create rotation. Allow your left hand to return to the mat, and we'll step our front foot back and up and into downward facing dog. I'm going to eliminate the fold from my mat because I'm practicing on carpet, so I've got plenty of squish. But we're going to add on to that modified lunge. So going back to our right side, we'll step the right leg forward. This time through, if you would like to leave your back knee elevated, you're welcome to do that. A little bit more of a challenge. You can rotate your top arm, that's right side, up. And now we're going to create rotation in the opposite direction. So I'm going to bring my elbow down and across, trying to aim towards the instep of my right foot. Rotate up and open, and elbow over and across. We'll take this one more time here on our right side, rotating our right arm up and back across. Planting our right hand and stepping our foot back and into downward facing dog. From here, let's bring our left foot forward to the outside edge of our left hand. Again, back knee can stay elevated for more of a challenge. You're also welcome to drop that knee. This time the left arm rotates up. And then we bring our elbow over and across towards the instep of our left foot. Open and rotate. Elbow across. We'll take two more times here. Rotating elbow into the instep. And up tall. Trying to aim the elbow towards the inside edge of the foot. It may get there, it may not. Either way. Creating lots of length through our hips and our spine. From here, we'll step our foot back and up and into downward facing dog. Taking 3 big breaths, checking in on our shoulders, making sure they're out of our ears. We don't want to wear our shoulders as earrings. And from here, let's, allow the knees to drop and settle into child's pose. Again, you're welcome to reach the arms long and allow your forehead to find the mat. You can also let the arms kind of wrap behind you and rest your forehead as well. Not an option that I have available to me today. And that's okay. Settle back into your breath. Notice your inhale. Notice your exhale. From our child's pose, let's bring ourselves back up onto all fours for spinal balance. So knees coming back underneath our hips, hands underneath our shoulders. Again, you have that fist for wrist option if you'd like to take it and do what works for you and your body. From here, I challenge you to keep your spine super steady, as still as you are able, as we reach opposite arm and leg long. Let's begin with our right arm and left leg. Stretch your fingertips out and in front of you and bring your back leg into a hovering position. Hand and knee return to the mat, setting them down right where they came from, And stretching the opposite limbs out, left arm, right leg. Hand and knee find the mat, planting them in the exact same spot they came from. Let's take 3 more repetitions on each side. We'll stay for a breath in and out. Think of your spine as a broomstick. No change in position, long, steady, and straight. Let's take one more reach with each side. And from here, we'll spend some time in pigeon pose, modified pigeon. It's a hip opener. So we'll draw our right knee forward, sort of settling it towards the front end of our mat. And from here, we allow our hip to sort of sink and settle. You've got a couple options with your arms. You can bring your arms down to forearms. If you want to plant your forehead down on the mat, you're welcome to do so. This is a position, a pose that is meant to create a really big stretch through our hip. But if you're the type of person that gets a kind of pinchy feel to the hip as you do this, I encourage you to try the face-up version. I'll show you momentarily. Right ankle crossed on top of the left knee. Right knee pressing away, left knee pulling in. So take whichever position, whichever pose works best for you. We're going to hang out and breathe. Take 5 big, slow breaths. And as you complete your last breath, we'll bring our palms back up to the mat, lifting our chest tall. Back toe turns under, pressing our hands into the mat, and stepping ourselves up and into downward facing dog. Take a moment to notice how this down dog feels compared to the very first one we completed earlier. My hope is that you feel a little bit more limber, a little more supple, better able to create length in your body. Let's draw our left shin forward, so dragging it onto the mat in front of us. Back toe settling under, and again bring your forearms or your palms down to the mat. Again, you're welcome to take the face-up version that I demonstrated earlier if you'd like. And as we settle in, let's stay put for 5 big breaths. Good. From here, we'll settle into our left side and sweep the back leg forward. Planting our feet on the mat in front of us. Let's reach our hands behind us for reverse tabletop. Again, you can take that fist for a shape or wrists flat. Lifting the hips and extending the hips as high as you are able. We'll hold for 3 breaths. My tabletop isn't very flat these days, and that's all right. Good. Allow your hips to settle. And reach your hands to the front of your shins to slowly walk yourself down and onto your mat. Let's draw our knees up and in towards our chest and give ourselves a little rock from side to side. Depending on the firmness of the surface that you're practicing on, this feels very different from hardwood floor to carpet, so just do what feels good, kind of giving yourself a little self back massage right across your belt line. Allowing your knees to settle in the center. Walk your hands down towards your ankles. You might be able to get a hold of the arches of your feet or your toes. That's not going to happen for me today. I'm going to hang on to my shins. And give yourself a few breaths in Happy Baby. Imagine yourself as a very small version, new human being that just figured out they own their own feet. Wow, these things are mine. I can move them around, hang on to them. How cool. In this position, we get a big open stretch through the inside edge of our thighs, our adductors, groin, kind of all words that mean the same thing, sort of that inner seam of your pant leg. You can stretch one leg long. Just move in a way that feels good. We're bringing length to tissue that probably has not seen a ton of that. And that's, again, part of the beauty of practicing yoga. Making your body move in a way that is unique, different from other parts of your day. From here, let's bring the bottoms of our feet back towards one another and walk our hands up our shins. Hanging onto our shins, draw your forehead towards your knees and make yourself small and compact. Whatever that means to you today. And from here, let's let the body lengthen onto the mat, taking as much time in Final Shavasana as you have, as you'd like. Shavasana is Sanskrit for corpse pose, signifying the death of our yoga practice. It's a buffer between our time on the mat and the rest of our day. It is physically quiet time to enjoy how your body and your breath feels. Make the effort to appreciate the quietness that you've created inside your mind. I encourage you to stay here and breathe for as long as you'd like. I've enjoyed spending time on the mat with you today. If you have any questions or comments about class, please feel free to email me, laurah@tcfit.com. At the end of each practice together, we would say Namaste, which means the teacher in me acknowledges the teacher in each of you. Thank you for practicing.